Oh, we are live. What is up, everybody? Welcome to Status Coup. First of all, smash the like button. Smash the like button. Show it who's boss. We got a very, very exciting show for you today. So we're going to be talking about the ceasefire that the U.S. vetoed. Honda workers are trying to join the UAW. We're going to have some 2024 election news. We're going to have a call to action to try to stop a surveillance bill that is very, very problematic. And also, we have an amazing guest today because Climate Defiance just had a pretty incredible action recently. Let's go to that video first, Colin. Oh, by the way, it is Monday, December 11th. I am Ron Placone. You are watching Status Coup. Probably should have done that up top. Probably should have told you the name of the show and the date right up top. I am filling in for Jordan Cheriton, who is busy bookmaking, person making, fathering. You know the drill. So, let's start with that Climate Defiance video, Colin.
Lifetime honorary CME member. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege to present the 2023.
Darren Woods is a climate criminal. How can scientists be honoring this man who increases production of oil and gas every year? I don't care what he does to his own emissions. As long as production goes up, Darren, we're fucked. We're fucked because of you. You make $20 million a year killing millions of people.
Told us that it was our problem, that we need to recycle and compost. Fuck that. No, we need to end fossil fuels now.
Exxon lies and people die.
Let's be real. Let's follow the fucking money.
Students here, join us. This man is a sick fuck killing your future. This man kills people
Stop
for
worrying
money.
about colonizing other planets to protect these
People
ones.
die.
And I want the freedom to be a human being without being fucking scared for my life, fucking scared for your lives.
Why are we giving an award to this guy?
It's money.
It has been the CME STEM Awards. You're welcome. Good night. We're leaving now and we're complying. We're leaving the building.
Yeah, but that's after you fucking disrupted the damn meeting.
Exxon lies and people die. Exxon lies and people die.
Exxon lies and people die.
I love ExxonMobil. It's the best, the best.
I'm not seeing that. I'm seeing that.
Yes, that is beautiful. So, everybody, please welcome my guest from Climate Defiance. We have the guy himself who is maybe tried to be a little incognito because he shaved his mustache since the appearance. But please welcome to the show from the Climate Defiance, Teddy. Teddy, how are you, buddy?
Thanks so much for having me on. I'm feeling great.
You should feel great because first of all, thank you for everything that you guys do, and thank you for what you just did. I gotta say, I know it's not a comedy video by any means, but the way you guys put it together, I mean, there were some sort of cathartic moments and some humorous moments. Like in particular, like I watched it twice now, and both times when it cuts to you and you're just going, "Why are we giving an award to this guy?" I couldn't help but laugh, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Well, you're picking up on something that I think on the macro level, right? What we're working with is an inherently absurd situation, right?
Sure.
And so you can lean into the humor of that with the actions themselves. I mean, it was a last-minute decision the night before. We put together a banner that said, "Eat shit, Darren," because what else would we were like? Well, what do millions of people probably want to say to the biggest oil burner in this hemisphere, right? Probably eat shit, right? He's not a guy that we're going to move politically, so we said eat shit. And then I work on the video editing as well, and I think leaning into that humor really works. I mean, this is one of our most viral videos ever. I think it's going to hit 5 million views on Twitter today, doing well on other platforms too. And I think you're pointing out, it's the issue isn't funny, but I think approaching it from that and appealing to people's sense of humor too, because of that absurdity, I think it works wonders.
So tell me more about the action. You said that this was an impulse decision. So kind of what went into the planning? How did you pull it off? And what happened? Did anyone get arrested? Like how did it all unfold? Give me a play-by-play.
Sure. So this is an annual leadership awards event from a group, I guess, called the Chemical Marketing and Economics. Incorporated, and basically it's like it's scientists and billionaires, and it's people that then find themselves at that intersection, like like Darren Woods, who's like a lifelong member of that society, but also lots of like scientists in that room. So I'll fast forward and briefly say, after the fact, we had one of our most sympathetic audiences ever. People outside were telling us how brave and important it was that we did that, which was a surprise. And yeah, so basically this is an annual event. It's the 11th annual event this year, and they had two honorees. It was Darren Woods, the CEO of Exxon Mobil, who we targeted. The other person was Kathy Warden, the CEO of Northrop Grumman, one of the biggest weapons manufacturers and exporters in this country, right? And so I'll add as a little aside, we did have a moment while we were there where one of our activists walked up and said a few words to Kathy Warden, certainly in light of the fact that Israel uses many of those Northrop Grumman weapons in its war on Gaza and Gazans. But the action itself, how do we get in there? Well, basically, and I don't want to give away any of our, we'll say, industry secrets, but getting into this place itself, there's a luncheon prior to this. So me and my friends who disrupted had to pose as people who belonged in that room. So we had we did our best to only talk amongst ourselves, but we had a couple close calls talking to this guy who, my friend posing as a chemist in the room, this guy asked her, what do you do? And she's like, oh, I'm in grad school for chemistry. He goes, oh, where? And she goes, Columbia. First thing that came to her mind. He goes, oh, I got my PhD from there in chemistry. So we quickly had to pivot that conversation, and she ran to the restroom to start Googling the professors in the Columbia chemistry department.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
But we made it through to when Darren Woods was intending to, or they were trying to give him this big award, blending in until then. And then when he got up on stage, we had a straight shot. We walked up there with the banner and we got loud and we filmed the whole thing. And that's—
You shut the event down.
We shut the whole thing down. Yeah. I mean, we never know if we're going to be somewhere for 20 seconds before we get dragged out, or if we're going to hold the space for 20 minutes. And this, I mean, for folks that aren't familiar with Climate Defiance, this is kind of our bread and butter kind of action where we take these high profile events, oftentimes politicians. We've only done a few CEOs, so this is very exciting. And we confront them directly. We make them squirm where they can't read prepared statements. And oftentimes we shut down rooms, which is what happened. Some jazz musicians tried to play over us, but we were loud enough that they ended up clearing the room, shutting off the lights. And cops were called, but as soon as the cops arrived, we said, hey, we're leaving. We did what we came to do, and they couldn't arrest us despite what the venue people wanted. So yeah, we just kind of ran out of there, ran into Central Park, had a little celebration, and the rest is history.
Good for you. So have any of the people that you've confronted, I mean, Amy Klobuchar is on the list. With the Pete Buttigieg, was that you guys as well?
That's right.
Yeah. So it's all been you guys. Have any of them ever responded?
That's really interesting. Yes, they have. We have. Biden's climate advisor, Ali Zaidi, has actually reached out and had calls with one of our founders at Climate Defiance. So this is we are being talked about within the Biden administration, which is a stunning milestone for a group that's now, I think, 9 months old, wow, and operates with as few people as we do with these kinds of actions. It's not a kind of style of disruption that we invented by any means, but I think within the climate movement, I think people are really seeing how direct the style of direct action is, in that it very much gets in the ears and in the conversations afterwards. So yeah, we've had responses from folks like that.
Is that encouraging to you? Like, is that like, do you feel like, okay, we're rattling the right cages?
I think so. Yeah. And I feel wary of the idea that, a meeting with someone on the inside changes everything. Right. Sure. But I think, so just to back up a tiny bit, we typically go after big name politicians. Of course, the CEO of Exxon Mobil is speaking at something that we think we can get into. We're going to shut him down, sure, which we did. But, in terms of sort of like the movability of the Biden administration, I think these disruptions do a couple things. Right now, the administration is panicking. They're hanging by a wire, looking at these polling numbers, and a lot of that also versus Trump in the general election. And a lot of that, I think, is also because of Biden's handling of the war on Gaza and Israel's bombing of Gazans, right? In many of these swing states, especially Michigan, Biden is losing voters already in a demonstrable way. And lest we forget that a big part of that, too, is his failure on climate. He's looking at a huge uphill battle, and whoever's advising him is failing because it's simply not working. And so when we have a conversation with someone on the inside of that admin, it tells us that they're maybe starting to come around a little bit, realizing that they're losing, young voters by the thousand probably every day that he doesn't declare climate emergency and every day that he fails them on things that are most motivating to them.
So let's talk like some bigger picture stuff here. So you are you're Gen Z, right? You're, okay, I assume, but you never know. Maybe you just maybe you just look really good for your age. I don't know. But I assume you were Gen Z. So I think that your generation is probably the most political one I've ever seen in my lifetime. I think you're more, I'm a millennial. I feel like you're more political than my generation is. And I think it's a beautiful thing because I think as a society, we should be moving forward. And I've talked to some, usually people either my age or typically older, and they have a different view on Gen Z where they're like, oh, no, they're not. They're actually not that politically engaged. And I'm just kind of looking around. I'm like, what are you measuring this by? Like, they are so, I mean, first of all, they're the first generation where capitalism's really a dirty word. And I think that's freaking beautiful. And so kind of what's your take on why Gen Z is the way it is? And what's your response, to the people who say like, oh, no, Gen Z's not a super engaged generation? Because I think you could say that about any generation if you just cherry pick what you're looking at.
Totally right, and I think it's the case too that I would say it's probably true that most people are not engaged, right? So when you're talking about these, like when you're speaking generation by generation, you are looking at a subset of those generations. I agree with you though on the political activation of Gen Z in particular. I think that has numbers of reasons that I'm sure people have studied out the wazoo, but I'm especially noting just like the ubiquity of evidence of failure of people in power. And part of that is because things can spread so quickly, obviously, on platforms like TikTok, which has been a huge platform for direct action, for Climate Defiance and other groups as well that I work with. And I think, speaking about climate breakdown, it's no longer something that I think anyone can reasonably claim is theoretical, because we see that evidence every season. Something absolutely crazy happens, whatever city you live in, that is record breaking. And then if you look in places, especially equatorial countries, where you are witnessing death and destruction as a result of climate chaos. And countries that also do not have the infrastructure, and by the way, are absolutely not at fault for the climate chaos that they're experiencing. Countries in North Africa, for instance, and Southeast Asia that experience these absolutely horrific climate catastrophes, super deadly, super costly, and that information spreads, and you can't deny that it's happening, right? And then you turn around and you see people like Biden approving fossil fuels by some metrics faster than Donald Trump even did.
Which he promised he wasn't going to do.
Which was a campaign promise of his, right? And so, right, and that completes the circle, right? That becomes such a clear lie where it's like, oh, we actually can't trust this guy who, when he was running, he was like this ice cream eating grandpa that was maybe charming. No, like, this is a liar. This is a liar and a cheat, and someone who, I was just talking about this with a friend, it's when you act that way on climate, you are a climate denier. Like, I don't care what he says out loud. If you approve new fossil fuels and people are telling you that approving new fossil fuels will kill all of humanity, you are effectively a climate denier. I think it's that simple. And so that kind of deep betrayal, right, which is ecocidal, genocidal, etc., it's something that really motivates people like myself.
How have the conventional means failed? I mean, at Climate Defiance, you guys are very outspoken. The conventional means have failed, and you
Yeah,
guys are direct action.
totally. It's a similar thing. I mean, the fact that fossil fuels are still winning the day on an economic level, on a political level, the signatures aren't going to cut it. They haven't cut it for the past 50 years. And I think a lot of the rhetoric, especially around, you know, yeah, the means of protest that were labeled acceptable and respectable and sort of like high road, like taking the high road kind of vibe. No, like it's time to tell these people to eat shit like we did. It's time to be perfectly direct and perfectly clear.
I think civility is the last refuge of the scoundrel.
That's
And
such
I forget, yeah, I forget who said that. I'd give credit if I remembered, but somebody smarter than me came up with that, I think. But
no, well, and the thing is, it's like, even, you know, even if I'm not like a political social theorist that can give you all of the data from the past 50 years of methods, the fact is, in the next 5 years, right, we can either do it or you know, end fossil fuels, or we're locked into a world where within the century we're going to see mass civilization collapse, billions of people having to immigrate, and feedback loops in our ecological systems that are irreversible, right? So we got to try new stuff, and this is new stuff.
so last question, and then I want you to, you know, of course, tell everyone where they need to go to learn more. But one thing I saw on your website that really stuck out to me and I loved, you're looking for a revolutionary but practical. What does that mean in your own words?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, I talk to a lot of people who sort of the beginning and the end of their analysis is, we need to tear it down. We need to destroy this system. And it's like, well, and then what? And also, how are you going to do that? And how do you motivate people to do that with you? Because there's always people that feel that way. But where is sort of the hope in that?
Mhm.
And I think that practicality comes from understanding where our power lies and how we can grow it. And so, you know, we do have a long strategy that that parallels also, of course, the election cycle, right? I mean, things are going to get be really different in the coming year as Biden and Trump go head to head, and there are other candidates obviously running, but because of the system that we have, it's very difficult for them to enter the narrative. And so we do have really deep talks about that strategy, about that messaging, about how we bring people in and build community with each other. So I think it's that really crucial dash of hope and research and being informed, and I think just really harnessing that deep motivation that people have to see something different finally.
Well, I really appreciate it because I think that, you know, kind of on what you're saying, there are some people out there, they don't see the difference between being a revolutionary and just being contrarian for the damn hell of it.
Right.
And you guys are a good example of what to do. So yeah, thank you. Where can everyone go to learn more? Plug the website, plug away.
Yeah, for sure. So climatedefiance.org is our site. Folks can hop on there. There's like a general intake link there as well. And we're looking, we need a lot more people to make this thing work. We work in like small groups in cities, mostly in the East right now, oftentimes in California too. This should be a nationwide thing. And I hope my story about how we actually got into that luncheon on Friday is inspiring to folks. This is possible for anyone to do, and I'm stunned that more people aren't doing it every day. We do have the resources and the information now to know how to do it. So please connect with us if you'd like to.
Now, can anyone join, or like, do you let old people like me in as well, or does it? All right.
For sure. Oh my gosh, yeah. Old people like you. I mean, no, we have people all like from every living generation has taken action with us. We're youth led, youth driven, but you know, I've taken action with people as old as 80, and it's fantastic. I mean, just anyone that sees what we see is welcome to take action with us, and we encourage them to do so.
Love it. Well, Teddy, thank you so much for what you do. It's really appreciated. If there's anything we can ever do to help, please don't hesitate to get in touch. Everybody, that's climatedefiance.org. Get involved and keep making the good trouble, man.
Thanks a million. Thanks for having me on. Take care.
Cheers. You too. All right. That was Teddy from Climate Defiance. ClimateDefiance.org is the website. Go there. And that video was very well done. It's approaching 5 million views. Please share that video. We just watched it. We'll be sharing it. I'm pretty sure Status Coup gave it a spin. So yeah, make sure you share that video. Let's make sure they get to the 5 million very quickly. And also in the meantime, smash the like button. Smash it. Show the like button who's boss. And keep in mind that when you are a member of Status Coup, we are a members-driven organization, and your membership helps fund on-the-ground journalism. That's what we do here. It helps fund Status Lou going and telling you the truth about East Palestine. It's funding Jordan telling you the truth about Flint. Tina covering all the protests in Cop City and all the stuff she's covered. All of us going to the UAW strike. So please, statuscoup.com/join. Dare I say it, makes a wonderful holiday gift. You can become a Status Coup member for $5 a month or $10 a month. And that helps keep what we do on the air. I know times are tough. So if that's not you, hey, like these videos, share these videos, tell your friends. That helps. That goes a long way. But if you're thinking, you know what? I can spare $5 a month. I can spare $10 a month. Please, statuscoup.com/join. And one of the things that we covered a good bit was the UAW strike. Now they have since settled and they reached a deal. And now more workers and auto workers across the country are seeing how important a union is. One of them is Honda. So, Colin, let's go to the More Perfect Union video. Honda workers are trying to join the UAW now. And spoiler, I bet this comes as a shock to everybody, but the company not having it. Company's not a big fan, but we're going to go to this video. This is from More Perfect Union, and this is about the Honda workers that are trying to unionize. As we speak, they're on it right now, trying to unionize. Is the video ready, Colin? Or
It was a world-renowned company. I thought it would be one of the best places I've ever worked for in my life. I've been proven that that is false.
Today at Honda, it is just, it's horrible. It is absolutely horrible.
I mean, we're at the bottom of the barrel now. It needs to go back to where it was, and we need a union to do that.
The UAW launching a campaign that could cause a massive shift in the auto industry.
They are moving their sights farther afield and trying to expand the union beyond its typical footprint.
The group is now starting to campaign to organize workers at 13 non-union automakers in the U.S.
I had no union interest at all or any knowledge on the union until back in September when the Big Three went on strike. I was like, okay, so these guys are doing it. They obviously have issues. Why aren't we?
Well, we saw the contracts that the Big Three got, and it really piqued a lot of people's interest because we seen they were getting a lot of things that we don't have at Honda. The issues that have been going on for quite a while at this point. Like myself personally, I went out and bought a bunch of UAW stickers and started handing them out to people. It was the day after people started wearing the stickers, we had managers coming out telling people we can't wear them. Tried to tell us that the UAW is telling us to come into Honda and it up. In their words, this is what management has told us. Just the other day, I got pulled into admin, and I'm currently being investigated for disclosing confidential information on social media.
There's been two situations particularly where I said I would have never had to have had these surgeries if they had listened to me. Blew out a shoulder. First shift and second shift had been complaining to management on each shift about the situation. They did nothing about it.
Where do I go to get help when I need help? Because I went the right route. I went through the compliance and ethics. I went to HR. I had all this evidence of what had been happening, and they didn't care. And I have nobody there when I get in a situation to back me. And so that's why we need a union.
So there you have it. They're seeing the importance of the union, and hopefully Honda, the bigger the UAW is, the further we're going to be able to go when it comes to workers' rights. Look, we covered the UAW strike very, very extensively, and they definitely got a lot of wins in that deal. However, is all the work done? Of course not. No one strike is going to solve the, complete ridiculous feudalism level we've reached as a country. So we got to keep going, and we got to up union membership, not just in the auto industry. We got to up it across the board, and we got to build good unions, drive out some of the bad ones that aren't doing what they're supposed to do, and grow and foster the good ones. And we got a long, long way to go. There's still a lot of quality of life issues out there that are still lingering. So we still have a long way to go as a society, but getting a union behind your back, that's a darn good first step. So hopefully Honda gets to join up with the UAW. Hopefully, I'm really curious to learn more, and I'm sure we'll learn more in the coming weeks. But what was the secret information that guy was sharing? Like what were they charging? That guy, like a UAW sticker? That's confidential stuff. He was giving that away. Interesting approach by the company. So hopefully Honda joins up with the UAW here very, very soon. And we will, of course, be covering this as much as we can in real time. And who knows, maybe there's another Status Coup trip in the future. We rely on your membership to do it. But that could be coming up here in the near future. Who knows? We'll see what happens with all this. All right, let's go to the humanitarian ceasefire that is not happening because the United States says no. You guys probably saw this already. The UN pretty much said like, hey, we need to have a ceasefire. The United States said, nope, no ceasefire. And they single-handedly just vetoed that. And then the UK didn't have the courage to basically go against the U.S. So they played it neutral. So let's go to that. Let's go to that tweet, Colin. So the United States is the one solo vote against a ceasefire. Beyond shameful, the United States vetoes Security Council draft resolution that would have demanded an immediate humanitarian ceasefire in Gaza and immediate and unconditional release of all the hostages. So I guess maybe it's not about the hostages all along. Maybe it's just about, we want to just keep bombing. We just want to keep the war going. We want to keep the war machine going. Because also, what has been revealed, they want to hit up Gaza for oil. Biden had someone from his administration there looking into oil and mineral rights in Gaza. So this is really about money for the war machine and natural resources. So that's why the United States did not go for the ceasefire, even though everybody else did, except for the UK, who didn't have the courage to go against the US, so they played it neutral. But that's why everyone else was for the ceasefire. Bernie Sanders had something to say about this. Let's go to the tweet first, and then let's go to the video. Bernie Sanders has had some very sad takes on this whole thing. Here's what he had to say here. Now this isn't one of those sad takes, but we're gonna start here and then go backwards. All right. So at a time when Palestinians in Gaza are facing horrific conditions, the U.S. should not be vetoing a UN resolution calling for a humanitarian ceasefire and the release of all hostages. I agree with that. Absolutely. The children in Gaza need food, water, and medical supplies. Absolutely. We must do everything possible to make that happen now. So this is Bernie finally sort of calling for a ceasefire. Sort of. I mean, technically he's not, but for the longest time, people were saying, Bernie, why aren't you calling for a ceasefire? Bernie, why aren't you calling for a ceasefire? Bernie, why aren't you calling for a ceasefire? He's finally saying they shouldn't have vetoed it. And he also had another tweet confronting AIPAC. However, here's a video that AIPAC was sharing. Let's go to the video, Colin.
In terms of a permanent ceasefire, I don't know how you could have a permanent ceasefire with Hamas, who has said before October 7th and after October 7th that they want to destroy Israel. They want a permanent war. I don't know how you have a permanent ceasefire with an attitude like that.
So that's Bernie Sanders, who's, basically repeating, the corporate narrative on the whole conflict and basically, reducing it to, how can you justify about 18,000 Palestinians have died that we know of. About 7,000 are children. What did they have to do with this? What did they like? What did they have to do with Hamas besides absolutely nothing? So yeah, to not call for a ceasefire in a situation like this is absolutely absurd. And here you have Bernie Sanders, who should know better, repeating the corporate narrative, the straight up pro-war corporate propaganda narrative. And it is beyond disappointing. I don't have the answer as to why. Because so many people, it's like why is Bernie saying those things? Now, I feel like maybe he's starting to realize he's getting this wrong. I don't know. I could totally be wrong. But, he's calling out AIPAC as a right-wing organization after they promoted his stuff. So, I don't know. I don't know what Bernie's motivation is here. I don't think he receives any money from AIPAC. So why is he doing this? Or does he just have a very terrible assessment of the situation? I think someone like John Fetterman, we were able to follow the money there. John Fetterman got some money from AIPAC. So he basically said, hey, my stance on Israel-Palestine, I don't know what it is, so you go ahead and write it for me. John Fetterman wanted that money, so he just said, yep, I'll say whatever you want me to say. That's what John Fetterman did. Bernie, you would just expect, well, what is Bernie getting? Like I don't think Bernie, does he take any of that money? Is he getting any of it? Like, what's he getting for having these horrific takes? Or does he just not, is he just not even paying attention to this issue? Because I saw an Onion headline that I thought really nailed it. Bernie Sanders doesn't, and it said something like Bernie Sanders doesn't want to call for a ceasefire because he doesn't want to piss off the moderates in his base. As if he has anybody. Bernie, the moderates don't like you. The Democratic establishment still doesn't like you. Bernie pretty much said, okay, Democratic establishment, I'll play it your way. They still hate him. They still hate the guy. Some people are saying that Bernie did get some AIPAC money. It's still, even if he did, it still pales in comparison to what others have gotten. So I don't know. I guess maybe that's it. Maybe it's a money thing. Yeah. But anyway, I don't want to over speculate there. We'll just move on to some other stuff. So let's go to some election news. We got a little bit of election news going on here. Let's pull up that poll that shows how great Joe Biden's doing. Actually, here, let me look it up real quick. Did Bernie ever get AIPAC? I feel like we gotta let's see. I can't find it. I'm not finding Bernie Sanders getting any AIPAC money. If anyone has some receipts on that, please do share it. We'll get to the bottom of it. But anyway, all right. So let's go to this poll here. CNN polls: Trump leads Biden in Michigan and Georgia as broad majorities hold negative views of the current president. Former President Donald Trump has the upper hand over Joe Biden in two critical battleground states, Michigan and Georgia, with broad majorities in both states holding negative views of the sitting president's job performance, policy positions, and sharpness, according to new CNN polls conducted by SSRS. In Georgia, a state Biden carried by a very narrow margin in 2020, registered voters say they prefer Trump 49% over Biden 44% for the presidency in a two-way hypothetical matchup. In Michigan, which Biden won by a wider margin, Trump has 50% support to Biden's 40%. Keep in mind, Hillary Clinton lost Michigan. So Michigan can go red. They went red in 2016. So yeah. So Biden's doing terrible in the polls. Now it's still early, but Biden is not really doing great. Here's another thing. Democrats are looking around and they're going, well, things aren't going well. Let's summon in the A team for some reinforcements. And that's what they did. They got their A team going. Here's who they recruited. Colin, pull up the next headline. Yes, they got Hillary. Biden's not doing so great at the polls. We need to get Hillary Clinton in on this. She can help. Hillary Clinton's role in President and Joe Biden's re-election campaign is expected to grow in the new year. They're bringing it. By the way, what has Hillary Clinton done so far? She defended Joe Biden on Israel-Palestine. The conflict, everybody wants a ceasefire. Tons of Americans are calling for a ceasefire. There have been protests all over the country. There have been protests with peace activists. There have been tons of actions at different synagogues where Jewish people are saying, not in our name. We don't support what the Israeli government is doing. Tons of it. Everywhere. All throughout the country. The rest of the world is calling for a ceasefire. Joe Biden won't do it. He has the power. We're funding Israel's war machine. He could say, we need a ceasefire. He won't do it. And he's getting clobbered because of it. Hillary Clinton defends his stance. Hillary Clinton, the person who managed to lose to Donald Trump. Oh, man. And that's who they're trying to help with the poll numbers. Let's go to the article, Colin, because in the article itself, I mentioned The Onion earlier. This literally reads like an Onion piece. This is from MSNBC. And check this out. Like, this literally reads like it could be satire. She's with him. Hillary Clinton steps out as a key player in Biden's re-election effort. Clinton hosted a $1 million fundraiser at her Georgetown home. All right, let's scroll down. So here we go. On the final, on the final Monday in November, in a Washington home, stately enough to have a name, Whitehaven, members of the Women's Leadership Forum raised just shy of $1 million for Joe Biden. Their host was Hillary Clinton. 2 weeks earlier, Clinton published an op-ed that forcefully made the case for Biden's approach to the Israel-Hamas war. We got to get Hillary to help out with this. Okay, that thing everyone's mad at Joe Biden for, I'm with it. I've never seen a war I didn't like because I'm Hillary Clinton. Putting her credibility on the line. Somebody wrote this and they still have a job. Wait, Colin, don't wait. I didn't get through that sentence with a straight face because no human should be able to. Putting her credibility on the line. What credibility? Oh man, usually when it comes to war and peace, Hillary has a lot of credibility, but here, totally out of character. She's getting one of these wrong. She's from Iraq. I mean, she always got it right in the past. Putting her credibility on the line as progressives demanded a ceasefire. Progressives and, most of the world. And 2 weeks before that, a Columbia University panel on the anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Clinton shut down a heckler who asked her to comment on Biden's warmongering. By heckler, they probably mean someone asked her a question. In those moments, in an interview on The View and in social media posts, the 2016 Democratic presidential nominee is stepping into a role as one of the most prominent and influential surrogates in Biden's re-election effort. One of the most disliked figures in American politics who managed to lose to a racist game show host is going to help get those poll numbers up. Wow. As a former Secretary of State, she has the bona fides to provide Biden with a measure of political cover amid a war in the Middle East that has split the Democratic Party. Cover is in what? She's going to say something ridiculous, so people are just going to get even more annoyed with her. They'll forget about Biden, so they'll be like, oh, Hillary's way again. Oh, geez. Clinton's role is only expected to grow in the new year, but for now, she is filling in a space that at a later point in the campaign season, former Barack Obama will join. Obama said the guy who disappointed everybody for 8 years by promising real systemic change and then governing like Reagan and then telling us at the end of the day he was Reagan all along. He's coming back. He's taking a break off producing Netflix series to help out with Joe Biden's politics in this country is absolutely incredible. It is just absolutely incredible. It is just wow. Hillary Clinton's gonna. And so here's the poll for the day. Here's the big. You guys know that whenever I'm hosting, we do a poll. So here's my thing. First, Colin, let's go to that Status Coup video. Where the guy's talking about how he doesn't sleep at night. Let's go there first. So basically the bullet point here, Joe Biden really getting trounced in the polls by Donald Trump. They're probably going to shove Biden down our throats as the nominee anyway. But let's go to that Status Coup video about I don't sleep at night because I'm so scared of third parties.
And I want to go back to something the governor said, because I completely agree. Like, the big fear here, the reason I don't sleep at night, in a head-to-head election, Joe Biden will beat Donald Trump, but we might not have a head-to-head election. And these third parties that the governor was talking about are the biggest threat, I think, to democracy. And it's why I have problems sleeping. And we got to focus more on this because it's a real issue.
But the biggest threat to democracy, the third-party candidates?
Yeah, because I think they could elect Donald Trump. I really do. I think that the math could change in a way that let you pull Jill Stein and Kennedy and the no labels, and you're really starting to change the math on how you win a presidential election. And I really do believe, and I think the governor would agree, that Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. It's why he didn't endorse him either time, and it's why a bunch of us think we just need to do whatever we can to make sure he's not the nominee. And I think the third parties could play right into his hands.
So here's my question. All right. Everything that guy just said is nonsense on multiple levels. First of all, you want to look at from his mathematical standpoint. If you take a look at all of the third parties with the most power, he named a couple of them. No Labels, RFK, the Libertarians are the wealthiest third party in the country. And then you have the Greens, and then you have the Socialists, and then you have Cornel West. All the ones with the most money and power, the ones he named was No Labels, RFK, and the Greens. The ones with the most money and power out of all those, it's No Labels, Libertarians, RFK. Guess what? If you're going to go by the logic of they're taking votes away from one of the duopoly candidates, all three of those arguably take way more votes away from the Republican than they do from the Democrat. Most No Labels people, if they're not voting for their candidate, they'd vote for Trump. Same with RFK. RFK is pulling more votes from Trump than Biden. He even said that himself. And finally, libertarians, most libertarians, either they're not going to vote at all because I hate to break it to you, but other political parties in the United States are in fact political parties. So political parties want to elect their candidates. I know that's a crazy sentiment in our very democratic experiment that we have. So they either wouldn't vote at all, or if they were going to vote for someone else, they'd probably vote Trump, most of them. So it's like if anything, Democrats should love third parties. The most powerful ones are, quote unquote, taking votes away from Republicans by your own logic. Which, by the way, is logic I don't even agree with. But I want to go a step further here. This is something that I've been wondering for a while. Okay, so the MSNBC liberal, and I know, by the way, I know that some of you watch this show, and so I have a question for you, and I'm honestly curious. I mean this like. So people like that guy, they believe that Donald Trump is some huge threat to democracy. And Donald Trump is some terrible authoritarian wannabe, which, by the way, I agree with all that. Here's where we disagree. Here's where I typically disagree, with your kind of MSNBC American liberal viewer when it comes to Donald Trump. Where we disagree is that they believe that the rest of the GOP is better than Trump. I don't. I think they're all equally terrible. Noam Chomsky called the GOP one of the greatest threats to humanity's survival. I believe that is accurate. The GOP is a neo-fascist organization. When you look at the policies they stand for, they are anti-worker, they are anti-union, they are anti-climate action, they are pro-war, they are pro-corporate control of government, corporate control of this country. They are religious zealots. They want to literally eliminate LGBTQIA people. That's the platform of, as a whole, of that organization. That is what they are about. Donald Trump politically is no different than any of that. So I don't think, I mean, yeah, like I think Trump is absolutely terrible, but so is he's not somehow worse than the rest of the GOP. And that's where I disagree. So people like people at MSNBC who think that Trump is somehow worse than the rest of the GOP. If you believe that, why, instead of demonizing third parties who have no electoral power whatsoever, why aren't you pressuring this supposedly reasonable GOP to not make Trump the nominee? If they're so much more reasonable than Trump is, why aren't you saying to them, hey, I know we have our differences. I know we're on different sides of the aisle politically, but there should be a little bit of a camaraderie here. This guy is a true threat to our entire democracy, so you need to not make him the nominee. Make somebody else the nominee. Why aren't you pressuring Republicans to do that? If you think, and by Republicans, I don't mean just people who are in this country who vote Republican for whatever. I mean the party establishment. That's what I'm referring to. Why aren't you pressuring them to make sure Trump is not the nominee? So that's our poll today. Why don't Dems pressure the GOP to not choose Trump? Instead of blaming Jill Stein, instead of blaming the Greens, the socialists, whoever else, instead of arranging the math where you think that every single third-party voter would have voted for Democrat otherwise, even though that's not true. Instead of blaming all those things, why not pressure the GOP to not choose Trump? That's today's poll. I'm very curious. And honestly, if that is you, if that is you, explain it to me. I mean, I'm genuinely curious. So here are your options for today's poll. The poll is, why don't Dems pressure the GOP to not choose Trump? Option 1, they want Trump. Option 2, no courage. Because it's really easy to, attack political entities that have no power, no finances, that are just, the most powerless politically groups, which are all leftist groups, basically. So it's really easy to attack them. It would take a little bit more courage to confront the GOP. So those are the options. They want Trump, no courage. And of course, the third option, shut up, leftist. Everything is your fault. So that's the poll today. Why don't Dems pressure the GOP to not choose Trump? They want Trump, no courage, or shut up, leftist. Everything is your fault. It's honestly, I've been curious about it for a long time. I'm just like, why don't you guys, if you think that Trump is like somehow worse, why aren't you talking to these reasonable Republicans? All right. So that's today's poll. And vote early and vote often. You got to vote. Vote the poll. Did we find out if, all right. Yeah, we'll do a follow-up on it. I haven't been able to find out if Bernie ever got any AIPAC money. But I am curious. Yeah, let's see. Is this something? We'll figure it out. Yeah, we'll figure it out later. But if somebody has tracked that down, please do send the receipt to me. Some of y'all are saying he did, but I need to see a receipt. You know me, I like receipts. I'm a big fan. Been trying to find it, haven't been able to find it. But in the meantime, vote in the poll. Vote in the poll. And guys, we have a call to action of something very, very important that's going to be voted on tomorrow. And by the way, we'll get to your super chat very, very soon. So Colin, let's go straight to the let's start with the CDT piece. And yeah, let's go from there. So CDT warns of a Trojan horse. Now, the CDT is the Center for Democracy and Technology. By the way, say that 10 times fast. CDT, CDT, CDT. Anyway, CDT warns of Trojan horse expansion of FISA surveillance hidden in the intelligence bill. So the CDT today is warning that the House Intelligence Committee to reauthorize Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act would dramatically expand surveillance powers. It is expected to be voted on by the full House of Representatives on Tuesday, and they are going to vote on it tomorrow. Section 504 of the HPSCI bill would subject entities that can access equipment on which communications are transmitted or stored to orders to disclose those communications to the government. Because that class of entities is so large, Congress had specifically rejected subjecting them to FISA 702 when it was enacted into law in 2008. So basically, this sneaks in a stunning expansion of surveillance powers that would impact a variety of businesses and could upend the basic infrastructure in which they operate. So here's what this would include. This would include data centers that merely rent out computer space, hotels and Airbnb owners, and even the local library or coffee shop. So basically, anyone that provides you with internet access, they could say, hey, you need to be surveilling people. You need to know what people are doing and then turn this information over to law enforcement should they ask. All right, so let's go to the call to action from Fight for the Future. And they're voting on this tomorrow. They're voting on this tomorrow at, I believe, about 4:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, tell Congress. This is from fightforthefuture.org. We will share these links in the chat. Tell Congress, stop pushing racist surveillance. Urgent. Congress is voting Tuesday, December 12th on two bills. One will expand the government's warrantless mass surveillance program under the guise of reform. That's the one we just talked about. And the other is a real bipartisan effort to rein in racist mass surveillance. So despite clear opposition from civil rights, immigrants, and racial justice groups, congressional leadership has extended its warrantless discriminatory surveillance program, Section 702, using the must-pass NDAA, Section 702. Now, Section 702 was exposed by Edward Snowden and has been used to surveil journalists, activists, politicians, and immigrant communities, among others. Our only hope is that Congress passes real reforms this week. So the Protect Liberty and End Warrantless Surveillance Act would require a warrant for searches of Americans' private communications collected under Section 702. Okay, so that's a good thing. Close the data broker loophole, and strengthen the FISA court. The other bill Congress is voting on, called HPSCI, is the Patriot Act 2.0. That's the one we just talked about, and would expand the government's surveillance powers while including special protections for the members of Congress only. Wow. Tuesday's vote will be performed under the Queen of the Hill procedure, meaning that the one that gets the most votes will be advanced to the Senate. It's critical that the members not only vote for the Protect Liberty Act, but against the harmful HPSCI bill. We want you to act now. So call your representatives, demand they vote yes to Protect Liberty and end warrants, and vote no on the HPSCI. So we're going to share that link. You can tell your representatives, vote yes to Protect Liberty, vote no on the HPSCI bill. That is basically the Patriot Act 2.0. It's amazing that not only is the Patriot Act still in existence, not only is it still going, we haven't learned from that, but they're just bringing it back. They're revamping it. They're making it rain Patriot Acts. So that's happening tomorrow, folks. So we really need all hands on deck. We need to overwhelm them, pressuring them to vote the way we need them to vote so that these terrible policies do not pass. You guys know me. I fight policy battles. Why do I fight policy battles? Because I've seen some victories. That's not me as an individual, but campaigns I've been part of. You know, I mean, policy, I know it's frustrating because you feel like you're just slamming your head against the wall. But here's the deal. When you fight a policy battle, you got a chance at winning, because if the pressure is enough that they're scared they're going to lose their job, you're going to get some victories. And the problem is, well, not problem, but the truth of the matter is, it's easier to stop terrible bills from passing than it is to get good bills passed. So sometimes you're kind of like, well, gee, are there any fruits from our labor? But here's the deal. Just within the past year and a half, we've banned facial recognition in a bunch of places. We've stopped bills like the JCPA. We've stopped bills like COSA. We've stopped a bunch of age gating bills. We got net neutrality allowed on the state level. This is within the past several years. Those are all policy battles where we got victories. We've lost some too. We weren't able to get the antitrust legislation in the digital space through. So it's easier to stop bad bills than it is. I mean, well, none of it's easy. Actually, I retract that. That's not what I meant. But it is less difficult. Let's put it that way. It's less difficult to stop bad bills from passing than it is to pass good bills. And I think if it was easier to pass good bills, or you know, you'd have more things to point to as far as we got this through. But you're going to have more, hey, we stopped this terrible thing, as opposed to, hey, we got this good thing through. But you know what? It's still important to stop those terrible things. So please go to fightforthefuture.org. Please do let your representatives know this is urgent. You got to do it now because they're voting on it tomorrow. Do it now. Do it right. Well, as soon as the stream's over. We're sharing the link in the chat. Do it as soon as the stream's over. We'll go to the super chat. And by the way, feel free to leave some more. Desbush Fleisch, what's up? How are you? Good to see you. It's been a while. I realized I just missed the 30th birthday of the Star Trek episode Force of Nature, first aired November 15th, 93, which is all about climate change. That is, how did you know that? Is that just like, did you hear that? Did someone tweet that? Or is that just something you knew? Because if that's just something you knew, that's very impressive. But usually that's like one of those fun facts that you see on like some fan board or something like that. It's the 30th birthday of this episode. And I'm guessing because of 1993, it's likely next gen, right? This is Star Trek Next Generation. I'm not super hip in the Star Trek world. I know a little bit, like I can say next gen, you know, like I'm like, oh, that's next gen. That's definitely Picard's peeps. That's not the original with Shatner. Like I know a little bit. All right. I've seen some next gen. I've seen some of the original. I used to watch those old Star Trek episodes whenever I was home from school sick. My parents had all the old Star Trek shows on VHS, and I would watch them usually whenever I was homesick from school. And then it was some really cool stuff. Next gen, also some really cool stuff. When you get to Deep Space Nine, I'm a little foggier. I'm a little foggier on Deep Space Nine. And that's when I'm, you know, that's when I get a little foggy. But next gen, I'm a little hip. I'll have to check out that episode. And I've heard some of the new series are quite good. I don't know if anyone watches any of the newer series. I started one of them. It was cool, but then I just sort of, I think my free trial ended. I don't know if it was like Paramount Plus or what it was, but I had a free trial for something, and I was digging into it, and then the free trial ended, so I didn't get to check it out. Some of you guys are Deep Space Nine. Holly, you dig the Deep Space Nine. I'm a Niner. Do people say that? Is that a thing? I like that. It's really cool. See, I'm not cool enough to know that. I'm not cool enough to have ever been to a convention or anything like that. Although I have been to similar conventions where there have been many Star Trek enthusiasts. Is there like a really big Star Trek, Star Wars feud? Like, is that like a legit? Like, I mean, I enjoy them both, but I'm not a connoisseur of either. Like I enjoy both as a viewer, but I don't like. I can't really hang on either. Like I know a little bit. I know some of the obvious, but I'm not. You know. Oh, so Travers, you don't like the new stuff. Travers, not a fan of the new stuff. Holly's saying not a feud. Holly's saying it's all friendly. I feel like I know like William Shatner kind of like trolled, like he like in a funny way, like he trolled the Star Wars conventions, like showing up there and pretending he was at a Star Trek convention. That was funny. let's see. First 3 Star Wars are good. The rest is crap. So I think by first 3, you mean episodes 4 through 6. Now, I do cordially disagree. I thought episode 1 was atrocious. I thought episode 2 was even worse. But I thought episode 3 was actually really good. No, I'm not referring to the original movies. I'm referring to, the ones that were made like the actual episodes. Episode 1 was the one where Anakin was a kid. Episode 2 was Attack of the Clones. Episode 3 was when Anakin becomes Vader. And I thought that was a cool freaking movie. And I thought episodes 7, 8, and 9 were actually all pretty good. And episodes 4 through 6, definitely my favorite. But I thought 3 was pretty freaking good. And I thought 7 through 9, pretty decent. Were they as good as 4 through 6? Not in my opinion. Although I guess, 4 through 6 kind of laid the standard for the canon. So maybe we're all a little partial to 4 through 6. But I didn't think they were all bad. And I thought 3 was good. 1 and 2, I feel like you can skip 1 and 2. I feel like you can skip those movies. And I found Jar Jar Binks, the character Jar Jar Binks, to just be incredibly difficult. That was incredibly. I mean, that whole, you've got to be kidding me, But I thought episode 3 was okay. If you guys are talking cartoons and stuff, yeah, I'm not hip to the cartoons, Henry. That's where I kind of tap out. I can talk movies. I can't talk cartoons. I can't really talk books. Colin looks.
I was just going to give you the poll results.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Don't worry.
Like,
I have opinions
like
on
you
Star
wanted
Wars.
To end this. You were just like, dude, stop. What are you saying? Do you have opinions on Star Wars? Are you concerned?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I grew up on it.
All right. Well, me too. Are you a bigger connoisseur? Like, do you know the books and the cartoons? Oh, everything.
Yeah, I read the books growing up and getting ready for I've recently went and watched. I didn't grow up on Clone Wars, but I recently went and watched Clone Wars and Rebels and stuff. But
you're talking I'm one of the series.
The animated stuff. But I'm one of the people that enjoy the prequels. But episode 3 is my favorite. I didn't care so much for the sequels outside of episode 7. I liked that one actually, but 8 and 9 were kind of meh for me.
So is that your ride? I hear a siren.
Probably.
What'd you do?
That's right. But,
yeah, I don't know, man. I remember when they came out, the 1, 2, and 3, and then of course 7 through 9 too. But I remember everybody was so excited. A new Star Wars was happening, and then it was that, and it was kind of okay.
See, I'm a different perspective because the first movie I ever saw in theaters as a little kid was episode 1. And I hadn't seen the original, so my perspective is very different.
No, that's definitely very different. I mean, I am 97 years old, so it was different for me. But so what's the result of our poll?
Yeah, so why don't Dems pressure GOP to not choose Trump? We have 16% say shut up leftists, it's your fault.
Yes.
27% say no courage, and 55% say they want Trump.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so they think deep down that they just want Trump because they want to just scare you. What do you think, Colin?
I think it's half and half. It's not necessarily that they want Trump, but they'll prefer him over almost any other candidate outside of, like, I guess, Biden. But
why do you think they prefer him? Do you think it's because they think they'll beat him?
No, it's just a good fundraising. At the end of the day, that's all the DNC has become. It's just like, how can we fundraise different ways and also occasionally commit like money laundering, but not get in trouble for it. But I feel like that's really it, like this. And they work in cahoots with, not cahoots, but MSNBC and CNN obviously have a leaning for DNC, and their ratings go up with Trump and stuff. So I think it's just people just all around make a lot of money when Trump's in office, and that's.
Oh, the media had to have loved him. I mean, he was so good for business for them, and he still is. I mean, they're still like
even independent media. So realize, oh, Trump's kind of a cash cow for this type of stuff.
Yeah. I think that's a good point. Yeah, I think I'm a little bit of they don't have courage and they want Trump. So well, thank you all for participating in the poll. You guys know I love doing the polls here. We'll do another one tomorrow. I will be here. Tomorrow. Fill it in for Jordan. And then I will be here on Thursday. And then Wednesday, who's doing the show Wednesday, Colin? There's someone else on Wednesday, I think.
Lewis will be, I believe.
Status Lou on Wednesday. Status Lou on Wednesday. You got to love Status Lou. He's got that cool map behind him. It's dope. Is he on the ground somewhere, or is it just a studio show?
Lewis will be just a studio show. There might be, well, we have on the ground coverage we'll be releasing that's recorded from some of the Free Palestine rallies that happened recently.
Is that Johnny F on the 1s and 2s?
Yeah.
There you go.
And there might be a live later this week. We just gotta see the timing of it and stuff. But
fun.
Yeah, stay tuned for that.
All right. So yeah, there might be some lives. We got some more footage. The studio schedule this week. I'll be here tomorrow. And by the way, it's so great to see everybody. I miss you when I'm not around, and I'm always happy to be around. I will see you tomorrow. I will see you on Thursday. Status Lou with the cool map will be here Wednesday, and hopefully there will be some more stuff happening. You know, we're always on the ground. We're always doing stuff, which, by the way, if you can, please go to statuscoup.com/join and become a member for $5 a month or $10 a month. Makes a wonderful holiday gift. The holidays are coming up. Makes a great gift, and you're supporting on the ground journalism, and you're helping support what we do here at Status Coup, bringing you guys the stories that the corporate media is failing to bring you, despite having infinite resources. And guys, I'll also do a shameless plug here. My movie is out now. My movie Left at Wall is out now. Some screenings have already been announced. Tucson, Arizona, Omaha, Nebraska, Washington, D.C., and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. You can get tickets now for screenings of my movie. Now, all those events except for Pittsburgh are just screenings. I'm not actually going to be there, but you can get tickets and you can see my movie. The movie screening in DC is actually free. And in Pittsburgh, we're doing a show, a screening, and a Q&A after. So the Pittsburgh show is an actual full-fledged event. I will be there. I'll be doing some stand-up. Some other cast members will be there. We'll be screening the film and doing a Q&A after. That's March 22nd in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. There will be more events like that throughout the year. So yeah, keep an eye on my website at ronplacone.com. But Tucson, Omaha, Nebraska, DC, Pittsburgh, you can get tickets now. We'll have some international stuff coming up later in the fall. You get the idea. So guys, thanks so much for being here. Thanks so much for being a part of this. Des Bush Fleiss, thank you for the super chat contribution. You help keep this show on the air. And thank you for voting in the poll. And we'll be back tomorrow with more stories, more on the ground coverage, a new poll. You get the idea. This is Ron Placone for Status Coup, signing